or is it pretty just simple?
Well, actually, it's pretty simple. It was an autocorrect mistake that we decided to live with, but it did come through a comment about the innate sense of musicianship that we all share. When that came, that was a conversation in one of our rehearsals, I think. And then some other rehearsal, some other time, the conversation had come up about the infinity and the number 8, and I'm not sure at what point it all came together, but at some point, autocorrect in a text wrote innate instead of like the word INNATE.
Yeah, huh.
And so
That's kind of cool. It was meant to be.
yeah.
How about that? That is sweet. So, musical inspirations. Like, growing up, did you guys have a moment that you kind of knew this is what I want to do, or was it something that you had to find along the way piece by piece for all of you guys?
Sure.
I'm still going through the moment of growing up, but
Aren't we all?
As you say, I just kind of started from day one doing this and liking the rhythm of life and
Liking
music.
the rhythm of life. I really like that. I like that, especially for a drummer. That is good. You could tell you have that rhythm in you. I was sitting there when you guys were warming up, and as soon as I got that drum box, I was just sitting there. I had to play along. Everything that you were doing, everything. The rhythm was so beautiful, so crisp. I had to sit and had to tap along.
Thank you, passing it forward.
That is awesome. What about you?
Well, I grew up playing piano and started learning saxophone in middle school, but it wasn't until high school that I met my high school band director, and he really got me into music. And yeah, at that point, I started joining just about every chamber group, playing saxophone and piano. And
Yeah, I saw you
just
messing around with
playing
that
all the time.
before.
Yeah, I was gonna play a little bit today, but plans changed a little bit, and I ended up on keyboard for the full time. So.
Oh, hey, beautiful at both. The saxophone, I think I've maybe heard 2 or 3 people actually like play saxophone live. That was incredible. Just going off the cuff too. Was that just kind of messing around?
Yeah, a guy came in. His name was Glenn, I believe, and he was just playing bass. And he looked at me like I should play. I was like, okay, and I started playing with him. So it was pretty fun.
Nice. Yeah, that was sweet. I've got to come find you guys somewhere else so I can hear it with the saxophone, because that incredible. It's so good. And what about yourself?
And it was fun to hear that. And one of the early goals of this combination for me was to get out of my classical box and away from the notes that I read and learn to improv. And that's coming along quite well. But that was, well, initially, the two of us started rehearsing with that goal in mind, and then at some point we realized, wait a minute, we need a keyboard player. But I think I'm answering your next question first. Let me go back to the other question.
All right.
My moment that I knew I was a musician, that I would be a musician. I think there were a couple of them, but my father plays accordion, and we pull it out at the
That's a
family
fun
events.
instrument.
Oh my gosh, yes. I still to this day don't know why I haven't learned to play that instrument, but the flute sounds an awful lot like it in many ways. And when I was offered a clarinet in the band, signing up for band opportunity, I was handed a clarinet, and it was like gushes of tears and furious opposition. Like, no, it will be flute. And so it has been.
Was that the first one? Is that the first instrument that you mastered, was the flute?
Yeah, I've tried piano a number of times. I hope I live to be 180. I might get it by then. We'll see.
That is it's a tricky one. But once you can get it, it's kind of just like everything else, I guess. You practice enough, and you'll kind of find out that you were a hidden master at it the whole time. That was... You can go.
I took piano lessons for a while from a brilliant woman who understood, for some of us learning the instrument, that the notes going parallel that way, when the hands are going opposite from what the line of music is going, as far as ascending and descending, was that was where some of the registration conflict came. So she turned the page up on the side so that I was reading the notes this way. So when the notes went that way on the right hand, on the staff going up, my hand could do the same thing that the notes were doing. And that made so much sense.
That's a pretty smart thing to do to teach.
That did the same thing with a number of pop tunes. So I'll get there.
One of these days, all it takes is a little bit of practice.
Yeah.
So that I wanted to bring up too, because that was cool that you guys did that, and you'll never see a lot of bands do that, especially when it's at a performance like this, when it's not just you're sitting in the studio, you're sitting by yourselves, kind of hanging out. To do an improv thing on the stage right there. You're all like, yep, we're going to do it. We don't know what we're going to do, but something's going to come together. It's going to be beautiful, and it's going to combine 3 instruments that I feel like are kind of hard to put together in a way like that. Where did that ever come from? You said from practice, but where was like the first time that you guys were like, this is beauty every time? Because I remember you saying that every time it's fun. It's not like you guys have had a time where it's kind of off. It always comes into something beautiful.
It does always come together. It is, I think, don't talk about it.
Just let it be.
You might make a mess of the situation.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's a life-saving journey as far as how this came together. I was at Lady J's Jam here a year and a half ago before we did going through what we're going through. Yeah. And so I ran into MaryBeth as I was leaving and talking to her about music. She had been up there at the Jam playing at the VFW and just started talking about projects. And she was talking about how she wasn't really playing and she's putting everything in the box and not doing it. And so I'm into supporting musicians whenever I can. And I told her, hey, let's start a project and stuff. And so a year ago, we started a project. It was just her and I playing. She's doing the flute, and I'm doing, percussion, drums. And we started just building from there. And we're just looking at going out and just doing the duo. And then we ran across our keyboard player who had to leave today because no, Joe's he's just substituting.
He's a swinging.
Oh, the story gets longer.
Oh, I'm so excited for
more exciting and interesting. And so we ran into a keyboard player at a Creative Space in St. Paul downtown, and hey, here's a keyboard player. We just jammed with him, and we hooked up, and that's how we played with the name of creating the name In8Trio and started there.
Yeah.
And so the whole journey is unbelievable as far as the improv, and we just started playing with him and doing the improvs in California a lot. It's like, wow, finally I ran into a musician that can improv, and he was just like slamming. It's like, yes. And so
my personal style and goal with improvisation is to keep it melodic. I am not an improviser that likes to just throw a lot of notes out there and kind of paste the wall with random notes.
Yeah.
right.
Not make it too overwhelming.
Works for a lot of people, but I don't know. To me, it's just not that much fun. I can go do that.
And that's how I ran into
Somewhere
MaryBeth
else.
from her professionalism as far as reading music, which I don't do that, and I chose not to read. I mean, did the high school concert bands and this and that, but I said, I want to keep it where my soul can touch all the rhythms, all the beats, and it's hard to get a paying job in L.A. where you can't read music, and the military's like, read the note. Well, can you just go through it and give me a few
Give me a
tracks?
feeling or something?
Yeah.
Huh.
So, but learn to read music. I mean, I can't sight read, but I read.
Same here. I can't
Joe
read
Andrews,
music.
So-
of course, obviously, he's
yeah.
a master improviser.
MaryBeth's a mind reader. I was
Sitting
going
down today to
come
play.
into Joe,
Go
and she knows because last time we played in the parks last week, I said, hey, don't forget about Joe. And so now she's way ahead of me. There's Joe. He did a great job playing the sax, but another super intelligent musician, which has really saved several projects that I've been involved here in the past week or so. I'll let Joe talk about his professionalism of playing music.
I don't know what to say about that.
As said, he just got it. Oh, whatever, I got it.
There's something, especially when you guys were playing a lot of the songs with the improvision, and when you came and you mixed it in with Brown Eyed Girl, and you were sitting there, and even just come up with that, the little remedy coming in and just getting it to mix in so perfectly. And where did that even? Is that always something that's kind of, this kind of sounds like this song, or was that just like, I'll throw this in here and see what they do?
I've definitely done that kind of thing before where I just think of something funny and I'm like, someone might get a kick out of this. Like one time I was playing this jazz band gig in Madison, Wisconsin, and we were playing a swing dance, but the swing dance got delayed because the fire alarm went off and everyone had to evacuate. So we come back in, and one of the first solos I take, I just threw in "We Didn't Start the Fire" by Billy Joel, and played that instead of actually
That
improvising.
is beauty. That is beauty right there.
I've definitely done that kind of thing before. It's just kind of fun to do.
It
so.
keeps it interesting. That's
Yeah.
some showbiz right there,
Yes,
keeping them on their toes.
And
I
that's
like
hard
that.
to find someone who is professionally trained in music to do ad-libbing. I have so many friends that I'd love to get in, but they say, no, I can't ad-lib, but they're great musicians. They could read. And so this is a gift to run across these individuals that can do the ad-lib and just write. We just constantly writing, new projects, new, set lists as we go through the originals.
It is beautiful. And even you guys were saying that it wasn't even supposed to kind of go the way that it went today, but it's still, I mean, if you guys didn't say it to me, I would have never guessed. It seemed like everything went without a hiccup. It seemed like everything was beautiful, perfectly to the T.
And that's what we've been practicing, just come on, let's just play. And individuals that I have to say that I'm around, these two can do that. If it breaks down like it did, our keyboard player, he's recovering from a brain tumor, and it's just like he just couldn't take it. It was too much, too much rhythm, too much noise in the mall. And so he had to step out and do that. And we had another singer that, miscommunication, and it didn't work out that way. And then we were still, it just kept going with these two individuals here with MaryBeth and Joe. It's just, wow,
Yeah, it puts you on your feet thinking. But that is the value of being able to use your ears and improvise and get away from the prescribed things on the page, because I've played lots and lots of weddings, and if you aren't prepared to add an extra 20 or 40 minutes to your 15-minute assignment of music you should play, you're not gonna survive playing wedding music. Things go wrong.
Yeah, that's a huge, especially with musicians, that is so huge to be able to, on the fly, whether it's adding in maybe just a little extra to the song because you got to fix something else, you got to add in a whole nother song, you got to take out a couple songs, to be able to do that, and with three people especially to line it up like that, and kind of like how you said, it's a blessing that you met these two with that same kind of, hey, we need to change this, what can we do? And it's quick, well, we can do this, or this will work like this, or we can throw this in, or we should take this out. That is something that you couldn't pay enough for. It is a priceless thing to have as a musician, to be able to make those quick changes and be able to make it actually work, and have people not be able to tell. Like I said, I would have never been able to guess. So that was incredible.
Yes, and what supports all this here in our Twin Cities, I will say, is all these jam sessions around town. I just went to it's Lady J, Jackie. She had one here Wednesday at one of the VFWs. Jimmy Love had one. Waleski's has one. These, and it's just like you get to go out and practice this, and just get up on stage and hey, let's play.
And Creator Space, the artist community downtown St. Paul, is a similar setup. There's a variety of different genre of artists there: visual artists, sculpture artists, and then kind of a ragtag bunch of musicians. But there's space and there's opportunity to meet somebody new that just joined the community and find they're a musician and say, oh, come on down, sit down and play with us, and see what happens. Usually it works in some way. But yeah, this is I'm going to jump backwards one point, because a point you asked earlier, what was a moment
that kind of hit you.
There we go. Thank you for that word.
Welcome.
Complicated word. I couldn't quite remember.
I'm good on my feet. We're talking about it. You guys might have to add me to the group. This is my audition.
So a moment when musicianship became a significant goal, or awareness, is that I've all of my life gravitated toward writing music, and often. There was a music theory book in our high school library. There was only one book, and that book was checked out by me for 3 years consecutive. No one else ever wanted it back.
So they're just like, we'll call you if someone comes in asking for it, and then bring it back. Until then, you can have it.
I've not written a lot or recorded what I've written. A few things have been recorded, but this is giving me an opportunity to dig into that composer in me that wants to do some things.
That's beautiful. So speaking of, you guys kind of bring up as as a project. So let's say a year from now, with everything kind of opening back up, more opportunities to get out there. What are, if they're together, if they're maybe solo endeavors that may not even be music, but what's the next year looking like for you guys? We'll keep it in a project mindset, because I do like that word for, you're doing a whole project, a whole setup, it's a whole goal that you're trying to go to, not just, I want to play more shows. I know it's a project. I want to grow. I want to learn. I want to be able to do all this. What project are you guys hoping to, or projects are you guys hoping to either be on or leading towards or finish with within the next year?
Well, we want to do more with our fusion sound. He and I are both we are both love to listen to and play fusion. It's a little unusual to play fusion on flute, of course, but I find it a very interesting challenge, and I like doing that.
Herbie Hancock, Chick
Oh,
Corea.
love it. And that gives me a chance to get on voice too as well and do some vocal scatting with Hancock. But so I'm sure we'll do more with our fusion stuff. I don't know what stages are looking for fusion musicians. That's kind of the problem, always been the problem with that genre, but we'll find them.
They're out there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And I think one goal is not to overdrive it, not to make it be too much, too fast. Just let it kind of simmer along and be fun along the way, but find the true voice that we have.
Yeah, don't overstress it. Especially overworking yourself right out of everything that's been going on the past year and a half. I think that's one big thing that people are so excited for live music again, and people are dying to be entertained with live music. But the musicians themselves, I mean, you're amped up for like a whole year and a half. You're writing, you're thinking, you're trapped and can't get it out of you. You can't go tell your stories to the masses of a stage or hang out afterwards and talk with other musicians and all that kind of stuff. And then you want to get out there and you want to do it and do it and do it and do it. And before you know it, now you're exhausted 2 months in because you're trying to force it. You're trying to just let it, not just let it flow right out.
Yep, just the pressure of returning to a full economy is very noticeable. It was really comfortable for me with so many things shut down as far as other demands and pace of life, but and we did spend some of that time in the recording studio because it was the safest thing to do and still play.
Yeah.
And we're glad we did that, because now it would be very difficult to get that done. So I guess I'm not. We actually are at the transition point, and setting new goals or refining the goals that we have is exactly where we're at.
That's kind of almost more exciting than having something in mind that you get to figure out. How exciting is that you get to map out the next moves, that it's not written down in stone yet. It's not even a guide where you get to make that trail. You get to start fresh, and you kind of get to make the whole new plan. That's an exciting place to be.
Yeah, part of that plan is our keyboard player, Bobby's getting ready to, he's an artist, professional artist and teacher, and he's getting ready to head to Europe. And so he might pass around some of he's talking about maybe, are we open to traveling there? If he, gets us involved in something over there.
That would be fun.
That would be very interesting. But the project, as far as going forward and what's going on, as long as there's H2O, I'll put that second and music first. I think we'll be fine. And people now, as far as I'll call it the Bob Dylan syndrome, where it's just small gatherings, small entertainment, acoustic, and this and that. And that's where we're going as far as entertainment, original songwriters and things. People are open to the original stuff like, whoa, unbelievable now.
House concerts.
Yeah, that is something I've always wanted to get into, is house concerts. The intimacy of those, and that real genuine, when you're sitting and either you're listening or if you're playing, you know that the people who are around you, doesn't have to be like you're playing, to a sold out US Bank Stadium or a sold out XL Energy Center. Those 15 to 20 people, 35 people, maybe. Those people are so into what you're doing. They're hanging on every single word. That makes you almost want to do it better without trying to do it better, because it's real. It's really coming from your heart, and you really get to play, and you get to feel it, and you get to know. It's almost like, I hate using the word like it's the energy, man, but you can feel. You really can feel the energy within a whole house, and it's really such a great feeling to have all around you. I want to start getting into those more. The small shows are for me too, where I think that's where it's at.
Yeah, they're popping up, and there's more of them. There's a national circuit of house tours that books their schedule online. So
Oh, wow.
travelers can find that website, which I can't name because I haven't looked it up for a while. But travelers can and musicians, you can find that organization and just map out a road trip based on
How about
house
that?
concerts.
Yeah.
The mechanism of attending a house concert isn't just anybody walking in your door of your home that you put the word out with an address of here's something going on. There's an online ticket you buy, and you're verified as a legitimate ticket buyer. So there's a reasonable amount of safety on opening your home to 15 or 20 people that some of whom might be unknown. But more often than not, it's usually a neighborhood group that comes together and
So they kind of
knows
want to
the
do it.
host, and they're just wonderful events. There's nothing like it that the big stage can match.
Exactly. But talking about original songwriting, someone who surprised me here in the past couple of weeks or so is Joe. I heard him play, and I just had to introduce him to a project at Mojo's Cafe.
Oh, I love Mojo.
Pardon me?
I love Mojo. I love that place.
So do I. I like their nitro coffee. It's like, oh, when can you get some more?
I love their art.
But taking Joe there and listening to him bring out his songs, he just wrote, and just to listen to them, we heard some of those today here at Prince's Music Company, and hey, there's a future right there. This man writing and doing his original stuff. I'm just, I
Making him
think
feel
I might
awkward, but
be
he's-
investing in his studio
Yeah.
time.
Elliot put a bit of a challenge out in front of me there because I had 2 original songs ready to play, and he told me about a gig, and we booked it out 2 weeks in advance, and he told me that it had to be all originals. So
Whole
I was
2
like,
weeks.
well, I guess we can still do it.
He only had 2 originals at the time.
Yeah, so
It's a
I
good
had
way to get you to write.
I wrote about 10 songs, I think. I
In
also,
2 weeks?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a
Nice, my
challenge.
goodness.
Yeah, I basically was like trying to write a song every night before I went to bed, or yeah.
It's a good time to do it. Just get
Yeah.
all the stuff from the day out of your head and
Yeah.
so turn into beauty.
So they're not exactly polished, but I think some of them turned out pretty good. So I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah. Well, then how about for you then? For the next year with projects that you're working on, or things that you'd like to accomplish, or where you'd like to be by this time next year?
I don't know. I play with quite a few bands right now. So I enjoy doing the solo things or duo things I've been doing with Elliot. But then in addition to that, Elliot and I also are in a band called Not a Number. And we're working on recording our first album, and that's all our friends' originals. Noah, he's a better songwriter than me. He's the best songwriter I know. So, yeah, I've got that going, and then I host a jam on Wednesdays with Jimmy Love at Welsh's Big Ten Tavern.
Ooh,
And
guess who's showing up there next week?
yeah. So if we can keep that going, that'd be cool. We've been going for probably close to a year by now. It's been solid.
Very
So-
nice.
And then there's a few other bands I play with, but most of them are like covers, and they're fun, but I don't have goals with them, I guess.
Just playing
to
as
keep
much as
playing.
you can.
Yeah, just keep playing.
Spread as much happiness with music as you can. Especially hosting. That'd be something I can't even really imagine. Hosting a jam. That's got to be fun. A lot of different people you see come in there and a lot of different styles that you get to hear. And it's the same thing, but not the same thing. It could be the same person playing the same song. Or I guess 3 different people playing the same song, but it's different every single
The guy
time.
who sings about that dog or something, that video.
Talking about Jimmy.
Jimmy and his dog.
On the radio.
Yeah, it might be on the radio eventually. We'll see.
Jimmy and his dog. I've been waiting for that. Radio. Hear it. Jimmy and his dog.
Funny. Yeah, I think as far as goals go, we have had the experience of, and I talked before about bringing guests into the trio and doing something that pushes the trio out a little bit further, bringing a guest, a regular sequence of guests in. So we haven't taken that very far yet, but except for today, we did. But other than that, we are going to have to do some thinking on that. But it's kind of push-pull. We like what we're doing with the trio, and there's a lot of more literature we want to play. It's beginnings of improvisations that we've made notes about to come back to later that we haven't come back to yet. So one of them, in fact, is it's called In8, and it is based on a relaxation of technique called square breathing. And so we had a wonderful, wonderful improv with that. We didn't record it. We came back to it one or two other times. It didn't really quite work. So I don't know where it is and when it's going to come back, but there we've got probably 20 pieces like that we will come back to sometime, somehow.
They're floating around. They're just waiting. They're waiting for the right time to come back.
It'll happen somehow again, but
Exactly.
you know. But so far we haven't come back to that piece itself with enough strength to say, okay, now we for sure have it. We'll write this down. Because unfortunately, the first time we didn't. We just got in the flow and we just kept going with it. We didn't write anything down.
Yeah, and that's almost kind of the best. The ones that it's the
Yeah.
blessing and a curse that you don't want to stop it because you're like, this is perfect right now. It's flowing perfectly. I don't want to stop it and try to go back. Then you have that other side of the coin. And when it gets done, you're like, man, we should have written that down. I didn't remember how it started. I didn't remember this part. And then you're like, nope.
Yeah, my cell phone is running out of memory.
That's what I started doing that trick when I would go and jam, or if I'd be late at night trying to like write a song or whatever, and just be sitting there and messing around, just kind of doing something. And all of a sudden, you get on like a 5-minute tangent, and you're like, I like this part, I like this part. You try to go back and write it, and you're like, I don't remember. So I'd just sit there, open up my phone, and just hit record, and I would just sit there for like 2 hours, just mess around with different things. And if I liked anything, just go back then, and that became like my saving grace because I had like, I can't even tell you how many songs that I could have had doing that same thing. You're like, oh, I kind of like this. So you just keep going, see where it goes, and then it gets better and better and better. Then you get done, and all you can remember is just the way the guitar went or a couple lines, and you have to go back and do it again. So, yeah, that is blessing and a curse. You don't want to stop it, but you don't want to lose it.
Yeah, exactly. I know what you mean. I was doing my little hour walk yesterday downtown St. Paul, and I was walking by the History Center, and on the side of the building there, by the rail system, it has just HHH on the side of the building. It has about 9 or 10 letter H as far as their advertisement on the building. So I just start singing and walking, and I go, H-E-L-L, oh, life is so bad. I'm not gonna give up, H-E-L-L. And so I recorded that on my phone really quick so I could get the groove and everything. I'll introduce it to MaryBeth and see if she likes the groove and stuff.
Those are the best. The ones that it has to happen for some reason. They're sent from somewhere else. That they hit you that perfectly, and you're like, that's what it's meant. Hey, because me and Rick were talking about, he's saying last night he woke up out of like the middle of his sleep and he got up and wrote down something and then went right back to bed. And I was like, kind of the same topic. I was like, dude, those are almost some of my favorites, either right before bed when I'm trying to lay down and I'm like, why can't I get this out of, I need to go write this down. Every time I get one of those, I don't care how tired I am or if I'm feeling lazy, I will get up and I'll either find my phone and jot it down or just voice memo it, or the ones where you wake up out of your sleep and you have something in your head. You just wake up and you have the perfect, like, could be just 2 lines. You wake up, you go jot them down, and then lay back down. Or you wake up and then you don't go back to sleep because that's such a good thing in your head that you want to just go with it and you end up writing a song at like 3 a.m. that you were.
Your original stuff.
They're all sleepy songs.
Hey,
what
Joe,
happens to me
he
is-
wrote those songs too, but before crashing out, and they came out. I'm still just, I know he's the writer and he's arranging, and it's just like they're done. As far as all he has to do is just tighten them up just
It's
a little
perfect.
bit, but their lyrics.
Magnifique.
Yep. So it's
Yeah, what
a fun
happens to
journey.
me when I wake up with that finished piece just played in my head in my dream, and I try to hum a line or two to get to hold it,
It's gone.
evaporates. It's like a little, it's like a soap bubble, all gone.
There it goes. Those ones are the worst. You get up and then you're trying to find a pen or something, then you finally get it and you're like, what was it? And then it's just gone. Spend all that time, you're stressing yourself out looking for something to write it down on, and then all of a sudden there it goes.
Comes back sometime, somewhere, somehow. We hope. I don't know. What do you do about that, Joe?
There's a couple songs I wrote, like the ones I had prepared were songs that were kind of written like based on like major emotions that I'd experienced in my past. and that's really what I try to bring that inspiration into most of the songs I write, but some of them are just kind of like, this one's fun. But on the topic of like inspiration, one time I was at a jazz festival and I watched this amazing piano improvisation specialist. I don't know what you'd call him, but he called himself an improviser or something. He didn't call himself a jazz pianist, but he played this beautiful song, and before he played it, he introduced it, and he said, this song came to me while I was in the shower, and it was just this beautiful melody came into my head, and it started fading away.
Yep.
And then he's like, so I turned the water hotter, and it came back, and by the
That's
time he got
awesome.
out of the shower, apparently he had this whole song ready to go, and I still listen to that song. It's a beautiful piece, and yeah.
Oh yeah.
Great piece.
That
And
is
if you want to hear that, it's called "You Make Me Sing" by Kenny Werner.
You make
So,
me
yeah.
sing. Look
In
it up,
hot
people.
water.
And really hot water. That is, I gotta try that strategy now. Just turn up the heat. If I start forgetting my stuff, just hey, get it back. That is something how you brought that up. How you had those major emotions that you wrote about, and that's what kind of you use for inspiration. I feel like that, especially in songwriting, at least in my own experience, and I don't know if that's the same way for you. That I feel like a lot of my best songs come at a time almost when I don't even really feel like writing. It'll kind of just be like, it's in your head and you have to get, not like you're trying to write, like you grab a notebook and you're like, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write a song today. I feel like those are always like, either they're too close to someone else's song because you just have it in your head and you're like, but the ones that are, something is so rooted inside you that you need to get out, like either from your heart, from your mind, from your soul, that you just need to get out of you.
Yes.
I feel like those are ones that you can never replace. Those are ones that other songs that you could try to write will never even hold a candle to. Do you feel that in your writing, that it's something that it'll almost be like it needs to come out of me like right now? This emotion has been on my brain for a month, and I have a blank page right here, and it'll come out.
Or,
It wants to
well,
find its way out of
a
my
gig
body.
in 2 weeks does a lot to push it out.
Oh, yeah, that's true. The deadline you had. Then you have to get all the emotions out fast.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty. I'd say I'm a bit of a novice when it comes to songwriting, so I don't know if I can speak to that really.
I heard differently.
Oh, gosh.
So, how much time do we have left?
I think we're ready to wrap up.
5 minutes. All right. Huh. So let's say I like this question too. This is one that I like to bring up just because when I think of music and my inspirations, there's some musicians that inspired me, and there's people who weren't even musicians. They could have been an actor or someone who had something completely not related to music who inspired me. And one that I always bring up for myself is Jim Carrey. And Jim Carrey acts in such a way that he says he always gets the best from people, that he can talk, and he opens people up in a way that they will show them the best side of them. And he's so comfortably himself. If he's goofy or weird or serious, he is so 100% himself that it just bleeds through. There's no way you can stop it. And I always like to translate that with who I am as a human being. One, always just being comfortably yourself. But that always kind of helped it with music. If I'm feeling a certain way, or if I'm, trying to do a certain thing, or whatever it may be, having that kind of openness and just being so okay and letting people, after the show, and they'll come up to you and, this song made me think about this, and this song made me think about, my grandparents. And like, oh, I wrote that about a relationship that I was in.
Anyway, hey, how you guys doing today?
And one of those
It
inspiring
was a
people is Rick.
fantastic show.
Rick is the
Totally
biggest one.
himself.
Thank you for playing the harp in the
Everybody, how
background.
you guys doing out there? Yeah, that was fun.
Yes, thank you for playing the harp in the background.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. I like to do that every once in a while.
Yeah, we will do more of that.
Yes.
It's an old harmonica joke for you. How do you know when a harmonica player is at your house? Even if he ain't got the right key, he still lets himself in.
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
I know all kinds of jokes like that.
Boo.
Hey, Rick, how do you get a harmonica player off your porch?
I don't know.
Pay him for your pizza.
Ah, that was a good one. Ooh, that was a dirty inside joke there. Anyway, you know what they say about harmonica players?
They like
Hell,
pizza.
they can't even tune a fish.
Oh, I'm sorry. I spoke over that.
But we do love pizza,
Oh, okay.
as long as somebody else is cooking it.
Dylan, you're so polite. He just interrupts your show and you just let him fly.
Well, yeah, it's on camera. I have to wait till all the cameras are off. It's called showbiz, baby.
Dude.
Keep it calm.
I climb
Keep it
right
calm.
up, man. I get you, man. I ain't afraid of your big old long legs.
I don't even want to. If I blow hard enough in your direction, you're going to turn to dust.
Look, man, I tune you up, bro. I tune you up.
Bring your harmonica. Let's go. I'll bring my guitar. You bring your harmonica. No, you're probably good at you could probably chuck those things. Pretty good. I don't know if I want to go with that anymore. We'll just go.
Don't break the
Just kidding.
glasses.
We're not talking about fighting on
I will
camera.
let you know, though. I have to warn you.
Don't incriminate yourself like
and
this.
18 other Chinese words. Like kung fu, chow mein.
Are you helping or harming?
Look at that. He's always got.
Uh-oh. That wasn't meant to happen.
That one
Property
wrong.
damage.
Write-offs.
Here you go.
Man,
Oh, you can't drop it now, can you?
I ain't gonna say it.
That almost worked to plan.
Good
Almost.
thing we're live, man. Good thing we're live.
That's what I'm saying. We're on the cameras. We're on the
You
cameras,
just
man.
got
Keep
screwed.
it PG.
I was playing with my. Never mind.
Said it anyway. So, back to the question before so rudely interrupted. Do you guys have any inspirations that aren't musicians? They could be actors, actresses, they could be poets, could be philosophers that you kind of take into your way of music, some inspirations from outside the music world?
I don't know. Actually, that's a thoughtful.
That's a thinker question right
thought-provoking
there.
Question. And so usually people in interviews say, "Well, that's a really very good question." Well, they don't say it quite that way, but it's a very interesting question. I'm glad you asked that, which means I don't really have an answer.
I have an answer. I have an answer. After researching and going through life and figuring out, hey, why am I playing this? Why am I doing this? And nobody else is in my family is doing this. And so, I see. From a previous individual in my family, my father, DNA, and I found out that my family, they had a lot of music experience as they just got into the Jazz Hall of Fame in Oklahoma. And I
What?
go, oh my goodness! And then this happened about 10 years ago. Like, oh, so it's a gene thing. It's a fan. Okay. So
How about
that's how
that?
I did my research and found out where that comes from on this side. So it's just like
That's-
unbelievable.
That's a kind of you don't
that's
really
a-
expect that when you're looking it up.
No,
Wow.
No, but
Jazz Hall of
Proof in
Fame
the
in
pudding, yes.
Oklahoma.
But-
That is awesome. That's incredible.
that's my secret. Don't tell nobody.
He's trusting us with this, people. Don't let him down. You got any outside of music, any inspirations? Could just be for life that are.
How about? Well, I have one that's from the music world, but not necessarily for his musicianship alone. But Dave Grohl.
Oh, that's a
is-
good one.
I still haven't seen him live, but Foo Fighters are playing in Milwaukee in like a few weeks. I was gonna try to go see them there. But yeah, he just seems like he's still really down to earth, even though he's been playing with he played with Nirvana, and now he's the leader of the Foo Fighters,
Yeah,
and he's
two of
just a
the bigger
superstar,
bands.
and he's so down to earth. And I think one of the biggest stories that really stood out to me, well, sometimes he'll I've seen him bring fans on stage and jam with them and stuff like that, which is just awesome. But then on top of that, one time I want to say he broke his leg or something on stage. And as the paramedics were carrying him off stage, he was playing a guitar solo. He kept playing. He didn't care. He just wanted to put on a show for everybody. And that's so cool. And then he could have canceled his tour, but he didn't. And he kept playing. And they built a throne for him at each venue.
Nice.
So he could just sit on the throne with his cast on and keep playing. And it's I respect that a lot, because just staying and putting on a show is just
The true entertainer right
yeah,
there.
Exactly.
Yeah, he is, especially, when you hear him to this day, and people who see him and go up and talk to him, or even on talk shows, a lot of them will give him, oh, you're this Class A drummer. You're one of the greatest drummers of all time. And he doesn't even, it almost seems like he doesn't like that recognition of it. It's I'd ask me about whatever. I don't know music theory. Ask me about this. I took it from them. Ask me about this. And then I figured it out my own way. It's I'm not the greatest. I just love playing drums. I just know what to do if I'm trying to fill in, especially when he always talks about Kurt like he was the greatest mind that he ever seen. And at that time, I mean, he is one of the greatest musicians, songwriters, melody writers of all time. And he'll always take the credit off himself, and he'll throw it onto the band. He'll throw it onto the Foo Fighters, he'll throw it onto Kurt Cobain. And he never really seems like he's like, I want all the attention, act like I'm the big bad drummer, I'm not just in the background. No, he's like, no, I'm here to play. I just play some cool music. I'm with some cool people. I get to make people smile. I get to affect people and go out and play music. And that's like one of the coolest musician mindsets I've ever been able to see too, is Dave Grohl. He's one of my favorites, music and not music.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I listened to a great interview with him on Conan O'Brien's podcast recently. So if you get a chance, you might want to check that one out.
I'll go have to do that.
Yeah.
Cool. That is, I think, my experience with people who are truly great at what they're doing, music or any variety of endeavors. The people that have mastered what they're doing would never give that impression to you that they're as good as what they are. They're just usually very comfortable being kind of in the average Joe, average person spot, and passing their gift on. Usually, that's what I've found.
I look at it as 9 to 5. You go to work and you do what you do and get off. You respect it and just show your professionalism. And that's how I've flipped it too. Just, park my ego, which I've learned from a lot of professionals, what they taught me on the way.
That is I think Bob Dylan has always been like that for me. I think that he always made me laugh about it because half you can tell he's kind of playing it off and he likes to mess with the media, but I mean, they come up to him, and especially around his time, he was, as much as he doesn't like it, he was a voice of his generation. He was writing songs that nobody could write. He was writing about these messages that needed to get out there, and he had a great way of saying them. And then people would come up to him, talk to him, and, it's Bob Dylan, the voice of a generation. He would just look at him and mess him, just, who told you that? They'd be like, you said that, and he'd be like, I never said that. I'm not the voice of a generation. Don't call me that. Like, I'm just here to play my music. I write my songs, I play my songs, and then I leave. Like you said, it's my 9 to 5. I come here. I'm supposed to play this festival. At this time, I come. I play my songs the way that people like to hear them, and then I leave. I don't have to answer for them. You can interpret them any way you want, because once I tell you about it, it's kind of gone in your mind. Put it in your own mind. I'm putting it there for you, and then I'm going to leave. And that's always been so cool to me, and especially with the media when they're out to make you look like a villain for no reason, and other ones are just throwing you praise, and he doesn't like either side. He's just like, I'm going to mess with you because I just want to play my music and go home. And you're keeping me from going home.
Yeah, he has some history out there. You got to read about it.
Bob Dylan, man.
And I'm thinking it looks like it's time to go home.
Is it about time to wrap up? Believe so. Well, thank you guys for coming on out, for hanging out with us and jamming. Seriously.
Dylan, right?
Dylan, what you guys are with the improv, with the amazing drum films, with the amazing piano coming out of nowhere, with the music, the flute, such a beautiful touch all the time. The poetry thrown in there. Keep up what you guys are doing. I love seeing it. I would love to come out and see you guys do some more projects, some more art, music, whatever it may be. I'd love to come out and see it. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you guys for watching at home and for tuning in, and we will see you next Sunday.
Prince Music Company.
Prince Music Company.